All right, let's move on to the next topic, and we're going to talk about obviously Spurs for the remaining part of the season. And when you cast your mind back to last season, when Arsenal had a barnstorming start to the season in their first 10 games, they lost a game, they drew a game, they won the rest. So Spurs actually have more points now at this stage of the season than Arsenal did last year. And Barnaby, do you think that this Spurs form is sustainable?
Good question. I think it's sustainable. Well, I think it's sustainable to a point. I think I heard this week that if we carried on at this form, we'd end up with 98.5 points or something. I don't think we're going to end up with 98.5 points. What I do think is
we'll end up with 98. It's that half point that's going to be difficult.
Yeah. That's never going to happen. And it'll be Richarlison's fault. No, I think the form is sustainable in that I think we can approach this run of more difficult games and potentially not lose a game. Maybe up until Man City away, and maybe even including Man City away. Equally, I do think it's possible, just because of the nature of the Premier League, that we might lose away at Wolves, for instance, right? So the thing that'll be interesting the first time we do lose is how we bounce back. But I honestly see the way that the team are celebrating every tackle, the way that they are clearly all together. It's such a throwback to that start of the 2015-2016 season or the whole season under Poch, when things just came together at the right time. And the fact that this season, I know it's much talked about, but one game a week, not having to kind of rotate the team very much, and being able to have Ange talking to them all week and training them all week for that particular game is going to count massively for us. And so I think it is, it's doable that we continue in the top 2 or 3. Do I think it's going to happen? I'm a Spurs fan, so my instinct is to say, of course not. I would never be so lucky in my toxic, controlling relationship with this club. But, crazier things have happened. And if we won the league this season, people would say, but it wasn't as crazy as when Leicester won the league. So it could happen. We need a lot of luck. We need, with injuries especially, and probably to invest in a couple of positions in January. But could it happen? Could we continue it? Absolutely. Do I think we're going to beat Chelsea on Monday and it be an incredible night? Yes, I do. I feel really confident about it. And I think it's going to be an amazing night. And then if we then beat Wolves, I think we'll beat Villa as well. And then we can go to Man City and really shake it up. I said before this game, before Chelsea, and before the Fulham and Palace games, I said if we can go into those games not having been beaten, then I think we will go and beat Chelsea and it'll be a huge night for Spurs. So I've got to stick with that. And therefore I say if we beat Chelsea, I think we can beat Wolves and Villa and then make it a massive night at the Etihad as well.
Yeah, I think it does come down massively to injuries, because we're so short in specific areas of the pitch. Centre back, if Maddison gets injured, if Sonny gets injured, any of the fullbacks for a long stretch of time, the goalkeeper. I mean, there's so many players in this team where it's so pivotal that they don't get injured. So for me, it's literally balls down to the injuries, and if we can stay clear of those injuries for the remaining part of the season. But where's your head at, HG?
Look, if I'm honest, 8 wins and 2 draws, I think, kind of flatters Spurs a little bit based on the performances in the games. There've been a few games that maybe we should have drawn instead of won.
HG, we only do delusion here. I'm sorry, we only do delusion.
Well, I'm sorry. Okay, well, the
I'm
part
joking.
is the performance can stay. Like I think that's definitely sustainable. We're playing well. We're playing much better than we did last year. So I don't have any worry about us sustaining the performance, even if we were to lose one of our more important players. I mean, we lost Bissouma for a game and we won that one. So, like, Bissouma, it's weird. I feel like people are forgetting just how important Bissouma was in those first 5 or 6 games, because we all thought, wow, what a player. This guy is holding the midfield together. And suddenly we lose him for a game. And now it's like, Bissouma who? No, we're worried about Van der Ven, or we're worried about other people. So, like...
HG, I'm actually hearing people now say that Højbjerg is just as good as Bissouma, by the way, after that one performance.
I love Højbjerg, but not as a 6. That's not going to be his thing. Like we've got some more difficult games coming up. I do think they are more difficult. Chelsea is Chelsea. It doesn't matter how bad they are, in their own stadium. They will raise their game. We know they will. Wolves away, will they beat Man City? So again, you never know, but it feels as if Spurs should, if we think about ourselves, we should only get better. Our performances have been very good. Our results have been very good. but actually we should only get better. And so I'm excited to see what will happen. Look, I don't expect us to be top at Christmas. I think we've got 7 or 8 league games in December alone. So there's a load of football to be played, but do I think we'll be within 5 points of top? Yeah, I don't see any reason why not. I mean, it just depends on how other teams do, because, we've seen that. I mean, I've seen today a lot of people say that the top 4, this is the most points that the top 4 has ever had after 10 games. Like, we're not the only team that's flying, is basically the issue. And, Liverpool have to play Man City after the international break. Arsenal will have more away games to navigate. So you just don't know. But for Spurs to be where we are is fantastic. And in 10 games time, could we have 50 points? Maybe. We could win 8 and lose 2. I could see that happening. It's a crazy league this season, but I do feel that Spurs really, our performances can improve more than our results can, if that makes sense.
HD, just out of interest, you said we feel some of the results maybe the points tally has been flat. It's flattering us a bit. What games do you think we maybe got lucky in? I give you the Liverpool game. I think we can all agree we got very lucky in that one. But do you think there are other games maybe we got points we didn't deserve to get?
Define deserve. I mean, if you're 1-0 down after 96 minutes against Sheffield United and you win the game, I mean, I don't think that would happen very often. I think most times even Sheffield United would see that out. So, I mean, lucky is the wrong word, because we've not stopped. To quote that Ange phrase, we haven't really stopped. But I think the Man United game on another day, they scored twice in the first half, and we probably don't win that one. They had their chances in that first half. It's more about the fact that Spurs this season, we have taken advantage of other teams' mistakes. The Fulham goals are a prime example. We didn't really create much, but they gave us 2 good chances and we took them both and won the game. And so I feel as if that's really what Spurs are. We've made a few mistakes. Other teams haven't taken advantage, but we have taken advantage of theirs. And so we're deservedly top. But I feel like, you could play those games another 100 times and maybe we'd have 18 points instead of 26. And it feels as if a lot of things have kind of fallen our way, partly through our own quality, but partly
time though,
HG. No, of course. I mean, I'm not annoyed that it's happened, but I'm just aware that, if I take my Spurs hat off for a second, if I look at the other 3 teams that are in the top 4 with us, probably certainly one, maybe 2 have actually played better than us. I don't think Arsenal have been great. So, we're not the only ones to have got very good results and not much else. But I'm just excited that Spurs can actually get better, because I really do think we can.
Yeah, I agree. Sim, what's your thoughts?
I think at the moment, we've had a fantastic start to the season. Given the fact that we have no European football, we're out of the Carabao Cup as well, we can focus largely on 1 game a week, apart from obviously in December it's going to be pretty crazy, but that's the same case for everyone. I think the fact that I'm looking at our first 11, and if we can keep our first 11 fit, I don't see a major weakness in apart from maybe you could say the wingers. You could say maybe they could contribute more to goals and assists, but right now I'm not seeing like a glaring weakness in that first 11. And we've seen teams in specific years where maybe they have less. Well, like when Chelsea didn't have European football one year, they went on to win the league. We saw it with Leicester. We saw last season when Newcastle didn't have European football, they went on to get top 4. I remember Arsenal, the one year they didn't have European football, it really accelerated their process a lot, and they went from mid-table to nearly getting Champions League. So I think
no one's done it though since this Man City dominance though.
Sorry?
No one's challenged Man City since the Man City dominance in that fashion.
Yeah, and that's going to be very, very difficult. I'm not saying we're going to win the league, but I don't see a reason why we should expect a massive drop-off in performance level throughout the season, given all these factors, unless maybe a centre-back has an injury for a real extended period, like maybe 3 months or something, then maybe we can start to rise. We saw how it even affected Arsenal last season when Saliba got injured, how much they dropped off, just one injury at the back end of last season. But I'm thinking how I'm looking at Tottenham this season so far, and even the games against Fulham, the games against Palace, maybe even like Bournemouth away, like we weren't exceptional, we were just very solid. I don't think we get enough credit for how solid we've been defensively, because we've played some really great football going forward, and Ange's philosophy is all about dominating the ball and putting the opposition under pressure, and I think that's been a big emphasis. And people talk about Tottenham, as I said, they're this like gung-ho team, and to an extent we are, because we do obviously take a lot of risk, but we've been so good defensively. Ange even pointed that out, that after the Fulham game, he was asked what they can improve. He said, going forward, we're not at the level we want to be just yet. And he said the defensive side of the game is winning us points at the moment. That he explicitly said that. And I genuinely believe that. I think Van de Ven and Romero have been exceptional so far defensively. And I think if we can just carry on this how we're defending at the moment, and kind of being very resolute defensively, and obviously keep improving our attacking phase of the game, where we're creating more chances, we're scoring more goals, and that's hopefully going to improve. And we even see it in spurts, like in the Palace game, the second goal, brilliant team move, brilliant team goal. So we showed we can do it. We've shown it throughout the season. That element is improving. But the first thing to get right was clearly our defence, because last season was our worst defensive display, I think, in Premier League history, or one of. So that has been a massive positive. So I think that has gone under the radar when it comes to sustainability of results. I'm not seeing a team, for me at the moment, who's getting lucky results. I really don't believe that. What I'm seeing is a team who have come up against a series number of challenges, a team in its infancy of its project. And even in the games that HG has pointed out, apart from the Liverpool game, where I truly accept we were very lucky to get that win, and I don't think we deserved 3 points. Maybe a point would have been more fair. I don't think we deserved 3 points in the Liverpool game. I think that's the only result, in my opinion, that I think that we've generally not deserved to get so far this season. I think all the other results, I think we've deserved to get them. And I think I've seen the team who, in that Man United game, yes, we had difficulties in the first half, but we overcame them, and we answered the questions that Man United asked us in that first half with our response, and then they struggled to deal with us. Same with Palace. We had massive struggles in that first half to create chances, and we answered the questions they were asking us. Same with Sheffield United. And that's a really impressive and overlooked element of this team, that they keep being asked difficult questions, and they're coming up with different challenges, and we keep finding answers at the moment, and we keep finding solutions to the problems that get dealt to us. And it's not so easy to do that, and I think we've been doing that on a regular basis, and hopefully we get to a stage where we're asking more questions in the first half than we're being asked, because at the moment we're starting games a bit slow, and we're under a bit of difficulty, but we keep finding solutions to overcome it, which is great. But hopefully the more we get used to the system, the better we're going to get, and hopefully the better we'll start games, and all of a sudden we can put the opposition under the cosh early on, and it'll be even more difficult for the opposition to deal with us, especially when we're taking leads and stuff like that early doors and creating more chances. So for me, I don't see why, results-wise, maybe not 8 wins and 2 draws every 10 games, but I don't see the big thing for me is not even being top of the league. I think it's what's being overlooked is we're 10 points, will be 8 points now, clear of 6th. That is massive to have that after 10 games. And if I'm before the season, obviously everyone wanted a top 4, top 5 finish to get back in the Champions League. We're now put ourselves in a position where, I'm not saying it's wrapped up, but we're in an extraordinary position to be 8 points clear of 6th after 10 games. Everyone would have been so delighted with that. So I don't see why that gap per se can't extend. I don't see a reason why not.
Yeah, it most definitely can extend, 100%. But it always comes down back to the injuries. And I know HG was saying, everyone was saying about Bissouma, and if he gets injured, we're screwed. And Højbjerg came in and stepped in admirably well. But I think that if Bissouma was injured for a longer stretch of time, we would feel that. And I think it's the same for a lot of the other players that we mentioned. So I do believe that everything that's been said so far on the topic has been spot on, and we can sustain this form, but it all comes down to injuries, in my opinion. And we need to replenish the squad in January, and we need to get better understudy players, or not even understudy players, squad players, players for the squad we need, because we're just too short in certain areas at the moment. And I don't think, with Spurs' luck, what we've had, over so many years, it's going too well at the moment, and we're using up too much luck at the early stage of the season. So it's all My Spurs hat and what I've been through for so many years being a Spurs fan, you know that unlucky moments are going to come in the season, and those unlucky moments will probably come in the form of injuries. So we need to back ourselves up in those situations, because if one of Romero or Van de Ven gets injured and we're stuck playing an Eric Dyer or Ashley Phillips who's never played at this level before, I don't know if the defense is going to be the same. I don't think it will be. So I think it hinges on very fine margins if we can sustain it or not.
Can I be deluded for a second?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
I remember when we signed Van de Ven just before the season started, I spoke to a lot of Spurs fans who were annoyed that it hadn't happened 3 or 4 weeks earlier because he needed time to get used to the system. Well, either Van de Ven doesn't care about that, or actually the system for defending under Ange is, hey, look, you're going to be mopping up. That's pretty much your job. You're not going to be under the cost for any length of time. And so, look, if I want to be deluded, maybe those centre-half options that we have instead of Romero and Van de Ven can do that just as well. Maybe Phillips at 19, 18, whatever he is, maybe he can step up and be that guy. I don't know if I really believe that, but if I want to be deluded for a second, I can make myself do that. Like the key thing about Spurs this season is that we haven't really needed to defend. That's the best part. We have the ball, we keep the ball, and really the annoying part is that we haven't used it as well as we would like. We haven't created the chances that maybe we could have done. If you take away, the last hour at Burnley where we got 5 goals, and the first half against Luton when we didn't score, we haven't really created that much. We've not looked that great going forward. So when that improves, which I'm sure it will, then okay. We'll start talking. But the defensive side of things, as much as it clearly is important and we do want someone better, maybe people can come in and not have to worry about too much. They'll just be there to mop up because the rest of the team has got the ball the whole time.
HG, can I give a pro and a kind of against what you've just said?
Of course.
The
Absolutely.
pro is the reason why I think you're not far wrong is actually I think the key to how our defense has improved is kind of twofold. Firstly, that Ange has brought in a system and coached them in a way that every single player is improving. And therefore, I think that Eric Dyer and Ashley Phillips will be being coached on a daily basis as to how they, as and when they slot in, will have to defend in this system. And therefore, I think they will naturally be far better or Eric Dyer will be far better than he was last season because he is being coached better. However, the against what you said is that I think Mickey van der Ven is the absolute key and actually possibly the one injury that we especially can't get away with, because the reason it seems like we're just mopping up is because he is just mopping up. So it's his pace, in my opinion, that is allowing us to get away with Porro being so far up and Destiny being so far up and very rarely, but every so often Romero being out of position. However, if we have to have Dyer come in for Van de Ven, his slowness on the turn will not allow him to get back in time. He's actually relatively quick once he gets going, but it takes him about 50 meters to get going. So that's kind of my fear. I don't know enough about Ashley Phillips pace-wise, but I wouldn't want him to have to come in and say, oh, by the way, you are the linchpin of this entire system. Look, and then the other thing in terms of the defensive improvement is because all of them know that they have that pace to cover from Mickey van der Ven, they are now just defending from 10 yards inside the opposition's half. And that is the reason why we are defensively so much better, because they're not facing nearly as many defensive actions because we are just winning the ball back so far up the pitch. And, maybe we were going to get onto this or not, but Conte, I don't know whether he's watching, but if he's watching, maybe he is currently rethinking his entire management model, because the way that this works goes expressly against everything he said, and we are far better defensively than his teams were, despite the fact he had an extra centre half and he was all about no, we defend our goal, and then we'll break. And it's clear that is not working in modern football, and 57-year-old Ange has got the run on him when it comes to that.
But to be fair to Conte, he did want a Bastoni and he got a Longley at left centre back and all those stuff. And if Conte would have had Mickey van der Ven to play left centre back and Romero as right centre back, I do think we'd be a lot better in defence even under Conte.
Did you see Bastoni against Kane in that England game the other night?
Forget Bastoni. I said if we had
look,
Bastoni is a top defender. Yeah, he was poor that night.
But I actually disagree. I know where you're coming from, but I disagree on the basis that we were just calling teams on so much that and I know it worked in his days at Chelsea and it worked in Inter where they're all Italian, they grow up, they know how to defend, and they love defending.
It worked when he first came to Spurs to get us Champions League.
It did work for a run before the players got pissed off with him, but I just think there's more to it. There's just more to it. But I know what you're saying. I'm not defending, the fact that the club won't pay top dollar, but the fact is the club will not pay top dollar, and Ange Postecoglou is now making it seem like we don't need to pay top dollar as long as you get the players with the correct attributes for the style that you want, and he's able to do it with players who don't cost £70 million.
It's fair enough.